sometimes you want to avoid that hyperbole of this game is critical or this game is truly consequential when you're talking about an 82-game NBA regular season. That said, there's no doubt, at least in my mind, that Friday night's matchup against the Magic was absolutely important, absolutely critical for the Chicago Bulls. You can look and say, it's one game of 82, they all mean the same, but we know for a variety of different reasons that that's bunk. We know that. And this game had certain importance for sure because the Bulls are coming off of losing 2 games in a row. You do not want to lose to another bad team in the Magic like you did Wednesday night against the Houston Rockets. You're on the road. Bottom line is, the Bulls needed to find a way to come out and take care of business and get the damn job done. Get the 2-game losing streak done. Get back on the right foot. Show that you can handle business against a bad team that you should be beating by at least 20 points. And to their credit, they did it. This was an important game. You had Vucevic coming back to Orlando, facing his old team where he had been an all-star. Wendell Carter Jr. getting a chance at revenge against his old Bulls team, and he sure as hell played like it on Friday night. The game kind of got off to a sluggish start for the Bulls, even though the Magic are missing several key players due to injuries. The Cole Anthonys of the world, the Markelle Fultzes, still without Jonathan Isaac due to the knee injury, etc. The Magic got off to a decent start in the first half of the first quarter. The Bulls were kind of sluggish, but they rebounded in the last few minutes. LaVine had 12 points to start off the first quarter. Kobe came in, and, a lot of you are going to say, oh, what about Kobe? Are we going to do this tit for tat back and forth every single time? Kobe White has a bad game, and I'm going to look right. Kobe White has a good game, and you're going to look right, and I'm going to look wrong. He had 7 coming off the bench in the first quarter, and there's no question, this is easily his best performance of the season to date. Lonzo Ball had 6. Wendell Carter Jr. with 12 points and 5 rebounds in the first quarter to lead the Magic. And, it was a pretty big night for him, even though it ultimately didn't matter for the team. Where the game really turned was at the beginning of the second quarter. Because looking at the first quarter, I was concerned. Because they started off really slow. They rebounded a little bit, but I was saying, I'm not sure they're going to allow this Magic team to hang around. But where they really made the move was at the beginning of the second quarter. They got off to a 16-0 run to start the quarter, and the Bulls never really truly looked back from there. The Magic just were never able to get back caught up again. The Bulls were up, yes, by 9 at the half, but again, it was that second quarter that gave them the distance, and then they just exploded in the third quarter and just handled that business. But it was the second quarter where you felt like this team put it together. It was the second quarter where this team came out with the right energy, had the right defensive intensity. Their defense was generating offense. That's the Bulls team that you were expecting to see against the Rockets on Wednesday night. You got it here against the Magic on Friday night. Zach LaVine and Kobe White were leaders at halftime with 14 points each, leading Chicago. Lonzo had 10 points and really some fantastic defense. I know I've tweeted previously about Alex Caruso should be a first-team All-NBA defensive player. But if you told me it was going to be Lonzo Ball, I'd have no issues with that. Because if you're going to say, well, Caruso, Lonzo has even more defensive versatility, and he's just fantastic on the defensive end. He really, truly is. Wendell Carter Jr., to his credit, he did everything he could in this game. He had 18 points and 9 rebounds at the half. Jalen Suggs with 11. Franz Wagner with 8. But when you look at this, and I tweeted about this during the game, if you looked at this one game in a bubble and you said, for Nikola Vucevic, the Bulls gave up Wendell Carter Jr., Franz Wagner, and a future first-round pick in a bubble in this game, so please listen to what I'm actually saying here, the Bulls look like they got massively ripped off. Because what you saw out of Wendell Carter Jr. in this game, he ended up leading the way with 26 points and 10 rebounds for the Magic. Wendell Carter Jr. looked like the center, that modern stretch NBA 5 that the Bulls envisioned when they drafted him 7th overall in 2018. That's the guy that you always wanted to see, but you never fully saw. That's what Wendell Carter Jr. looked like. And Wagner, holy shit. If you look at him, a guy who was the 8th overall pick in this year's draft, comparing him to, let's say, Patrick Williams, the 4th overall pick in last year's draft, it shows you just how much weaker that 2020 draft was compared to the 2021 draft. As there is no way you could look at a Wagner and a Pat Williams and say that they're on the same trajectory, they have the same level of potential. Like, if you're doing that, you're just being a delusional Bulls fan that wants Patrick Williams to be something that he just isn't at this point. Like, Wagner looks like a future 20-plus point per game scorer, a potential key franchise piece for the Orlando Magic. And he wasn't even the first of their first-round picks. They took Suggs 5th and got Wagner at 8. And holy hell, man. You know, I know he only had 15 points, but when you look at him, you say, damn, like, this dude's a baller. You know, I disagreed a little bit with Stacey King talking about how they need to play him at guard. No, play him at a 3-4. Playing him at guard is kind of dumb and could lead to some injuries down the road, you know, from having to try and have him defend twos and so forth. But, you know, just in a bubble, looks like the Bulls got the worst end of the deal. I do think long term, like within the next year or so, the Bulls are going to have a very important decision to make in terms of Vucevic and his long-term fit for this team. He's going to be 31. How much money are you going to give to a guy who you could make an argument right now is only the fourth best player overall in the Bulls behind DeRozan, LaVine, and Lonzo Ball? It'll be an interesting thing to see how it plays out. But in the first half, you know, a big problem for the Magic was they didn't shoot very well. They were only 40% from the field and 4-15 from 3. And then that third quarter in particular, that's where the Bulls blew this game wide open. Where the second quarter got them on the right side of things, it was the third quarter where they handled that business. They outscored the Magic 35-23 as they were up 90-69 after 3, and it was all she wrote after that. You could rest the starters. The Bulls end up winning going away 123-88. Like, this is the performance you wanted to see on Wednesday. I'm very encouraged by the fact that we saw it here on Friday. It was a balanced attack, too. You had 3 guys with 20-plus points. DeRozan led the way with 23. LaVine had 21. Kobe White, like I said, I'll give credit where credit is due. He played great in this one. He had 20 points. He was confident. He was aggressive. And that's the thing. If you're going to be taking away minutes from other guys, like, he has to bring something to the table. And he certainly did in this matchup. Bulls shot almost 56% from the field and 50% from 3. You know, and even with Wendell Carter Jr. trying to have his own revenge game, he certainly looked great in this one. The reality is the Magic were just overwhelmed. So Bulls handling business here. It's a back-to-back situation. So now Saturday night they got to face a Miami Heat. You know Jimmy Butler's going to want some revenge on the Bulls. And it's a big spot for the Bulls. Facing off against a potential contender in the East, this is a chance for them to show that, hey, they're one of the big boys in that conference too. But even if they lose that game, I'm not as concerned. If they would have lost here in this game Friday night, holy hell, it might have been time to push the panic button a little bit, because these aren't games you just cannot afford to lose. As I tweeted before the game, this is the type of team you need to beat by 20-plus, and they beat them by 30-plus. So no complaints about this Bulls performance. One of the best of the season for them for sure.